Ahoy, hoy, listeners. I hope you've all had a rad and restful Chrissy and New Year's. I'm Ez, and I'm stoked for my first heavy interview of 2023 to be with Jason and James, better known as 12 Years Today. Hey, fellas, thanks so much for navigating time zone differences to have a yak with me today, or tonight, as it may be for you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So I've not long woken up, and it's a beautiful summer day, but I'm guessing it's just after tea time for you guys and a bit colder.
Slightly. Yeah. It's it's definitely cold today.
It's definitely not a nice summer day, that's for sure.
No, we don't have any snow. I don't know about Jason, but
No.
it's been a weird winter.
We have to pay a significant amount of money to see snow from where I'm from. Like, there's only like one little section of the country where it snows, and then we have to travel like 3 hours. And then because it's the only place in Australia where it snows, the hotels and hostels and the chalets and stuff that are up there, they know that they can charge $1 million trillion for people to see the snow. So it's like, it's a real novelty for us. Whereas I've seen you guys on Twitter shoveling shit and having to like sort your cars out in the morning and stuff, and I'm like, that doesn't look like a good time to me.
You actually probably saw Jay sorting my car out in the winter last year. That was fun.
That is exactly the post that came to mind. So I feel like I have this big responsibility right now to introduce Aussies to 12 Years Today, because you guys have like this extremely loyal fan base that resides mostly on Twitter, which is not really a space that Aussies typically frequent in like the world of social media. But you guys have like a literal army, hashtag TYT army, like from all over the world. So let's just do the thing, and you guys tell us what you're all about, how you got started, all that jazz.
Do you want to take the leads on this one, or you want me to do it?
I mean, you tell the story so good. So
once upon a time, the quick version is many years ago, when we were both in different bands. We played the same show. My band at the time was, I guess you would call, the house band for that show. And my drummer at the time was not very good. He kept the beat and all that sort of thing. And I guess he held his own. But when Jay's band got up there, Jay got on the drum kit and really schooled everybody on how to play those things, in my opinion. Jay was a lot younger back then too, because I'm pretty sure he came up to me after the show and he said something along the lines of, "Your drummer sucks," or something like that. But he was right anyway. So regardless,
not very nice. I wouldn't have said that.
Never, not in a million years. Anyway, we worked together once. He knew my now wife. She worked with his mom, and through that channel we hooked up. Another friend of ours, Mike, and we did a Killswitch Engage cover, The End of Heartache. It was very raw but really cool. I had audio of that for years. I don't know whatever happened to it, but
I still have it.
One of these days we could probably polish that up. Oh, you still have it? Nice. So basically, fast forward 12 years after that, There's a little foreshadowing there. Jason was getting married, and I happened to be just out on like a random date night with my wife. We were just drinking coffee at that point, sitting in a parking lot, and a friend of ours walked up to the vehicle, who happened to be going to, I guess it was your bachelor dinner or something like that, bachelor party dinner.
Yeah.
And he mentioned where he was going, and I said, "Holy crap." I'm like, "I haven't seen that guy in years." Tell him I said, "What's up?" And he basically reacted the same way, said, "Give him my number." So he did. And we started talking, and I said, we gotta do something. And that something that we ended up doing became our first EP. Jay had a bunch of stuff written and was just curious to see what I could do with it, and that's what ended up being the end result, and hence the name 12 Years Today. It had been 12 years since we had done anything together, so after a bunch of really not good names that we went back and forth on, we went with that.
I was going to ask about the name actually, but I felt a bit embarrassed about it because I'm like, I've been following you guys for a significant period of time now, and I'm like, I actually don't know why you called that. So there you go. You answered a question I had without me even having to ask it. The other thing that people probably don't realize who don't know you is it's just the two of you, right?
Right, just us.
And there's a significant distance between you guys.
Yeah,
There is now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you said that in unison. That was exciting.
Oh, nice. It didn't start out that way. We lived in the same town for the first two records. It was just what, 6 months ago you moved out east?
8 months ago.
8 months ago. So I'm in Ontario and he's in New Brunswick now. I'm like in the middle of the country. He's on the far east.
So that must come with its own set of, well, challenges, but are there pros and cons to one being a duo rather than having to worry about, 5 other members or whatnot? And how are you finding the distance?
I like that there's not so many differing opinions in the group because I kind of know what I want and there's no fighting, which is nice. And
Yeah, our egos are big enough. We didn't need more people to add to that.
yeah, I mean, all the bands that I've been in, I don't know, I shouldn't say all of them because that's not true. Like, but a lot of the bands I've been in, I've always been a bit of a babysitter and trying to get everyone together to rehearse. And then when it came to writing, specifically when I was writing guitar parts and stuff, I just saw everything a certain way, and that's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just it is what it is. And I figure if I can't agree with everybody, then I'm just gonna do my own thing. And yeah, it just worked. Plus, I just didn't want to. I was at a crossroads where it was either continue music like kind of full time or start the career thing and get a job and start a family one day, which since I've done all of those, fortunately, and this just allows James and I both to focus on both sides, like the family life, career life, and music life. And then with regards to the difficulties or challenges being so far away, I think it's worked out pretty flawlessly, if I'm being honest. James luckily is a quick learner, and we kind of FaceTimed the process to record his vocals and then send me all of his stuff. And I mean, he doesn't have to do a whole lot other than sing into a microphone and click a couple buttons. So he was able to do that really quickly, and he can focus on the talent part and I can focus on the button pushing.
I was going to say, you're not downplaying the talent of singing, are you?
No, there's a reason why I'm not doing it.
Easy. Oh, it's been a great experience but doing this new record with all these miles, kilometers, whatever we want to call it, between us. He said I picked up on it pretty quick. I'm having fun with it. We think it's definitely worked out really well so far. You guys are hearing the result of it actually right now with our new song Reveal the Pain. I recorded my vocals exclusively here, and I guess I'll call it my studio for now. But that was the guinea pig, and I don't know, man. In my opinion, it worked out really well. I couldn't have imagined it being better. So it's been a really cool experience and gives me, if not us, a lot more confidence moving forward, finishing this record.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll talk about the new song in a second, but I kind of want to hash over a little bit too how interesting it is that we're now, and I think the three of us are all sort of from the same age bracket. So we've seen technology in music, rapidly increase in its capabilities over, say the last 20 years. A project like what you guys are doing just wouldn't have been feasible really, or would have been extremely difficult, back 20 years ago.
That's true.
And it's super cool to see that there's two of you can produce the sound of an entire band professionally sounding as well and still have distance between you. I think that's it's very, very, it's something that sets you guys apart from bands that have the luxury of being able to just trip up down the road and they'll all be in the same room together.
Yeah, and those type of scenarios, I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss those kind of things, right? Like getting a band into a room and writing songs together, not just riffing and, oh, I like that idea, I'm going to record it, and then it turns into a song. Like that has its own good to it as well. But that's the one thing that we're not fortunate to have is that organic, like everyone in a room writing process, right? So I mean, good and bad to both for sure.
Yeah, definitely. But like you said previously, and these aren't the words you use, but you know, like people's egos, having a full band is a really hard. It's really hard work sometimes. So
Yeah.
I think just
Oh, and I'm for sure the guy that isn't the easiest to work with. Like, and I knew that a long time ago, and that's kind of why I kind of separated myself from that stuff, because it was just stressful for me, and I know it was stressful for everyone else, and it was just like, well, this isn't why we're doing this.
100%, it makes it hard work.
I'm definitely like the control guy in those old bands, but
And I've seen that example of that in my past bands. We had like 5 of us in a band, and we all were from different walks of life, and we were playing heavy music, but everybody's idea of heavy music, or at least preference of heavy music, was something different. And that was great. Those were during my days where I was doing what Jay was just talking about, where you could sit around in a room and all write songs together. So it was cool to hear everybody's different, what everybody was bringing to the table for that. But then you're also met with the issue of like, well, this guy wants to be a little bit more metalcore, or this guy wants to be a little bit more hard rock, and this, that. And then you have to try and find that balance in the middle. And sometimes that balance doesn't sound great. You know what I mean? Or you just can't agree on it.
The situation that you guys are in, though, obviously means that you're not a live performing band. Is that something that you were ever interested in doing, or have you always been happy just being more like a studio band?
We talked about it very briefly. I believe there was an intention there at one point. We had a couple of guys, friends of ours, that were going to join the band, or in some senses had joined the band. And then it was that whole thing too, where we had to try and set up times where everybody could get together and do stuff. Unfortunately, we didn't really get that far into that, because I think it was our first promo shoot, like our first photo that we ever took. I don't even know if we'd ever made it onto Spotify or anything we ever did, but it was 4 of us, and we were gonna look into some shows, and I think that was in February of 2020. And then like a month later, the world was way different, and that kind of put a stop to all that. Yeah, I guess there was glimmers of hope, or whatever you want to call it, like within the next year or so. Like, we were planning some acoustic live performances that we were going to do, that we're going to stream, and it just never came to fruition. And it did now. Definitely, we're minus those bodies, and we've now put lots of miles between us. So I mean, that's more of a pipe dream now than anything. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's just for us, I think, myself personally, being on stage would be a whole other monster. I mean, I'd love to do it, but just being able to create and do what we do and put it out there, it scratches that itch, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, and writing and performing are very exclusive to each other. I don't think a lot of music consumers kind of really think about that. But what you guys need to do is just get really big and really rich, and then you can just hire session musos to come in and just tour the world. Just like that. Easy.
Well, I'm planning on winning the lottery soon anyway, so
Yeah.
make it happen.
Just talking about like the way you guys record and the system you have set up. You're completely independent, self-produced. Do either or both of you have any kind of background professionally in sound engineering, or is it self-taught by way of necessity?
That's a Jason question.
Yeah, no, I am self-taught, and the motivation for me to learn was I went to a studio once, and it cost a lot of money, and I didn't want to spend that anymore. So I figured I'd learn, and it's taking me a long time to get to where I am, and where I am is still far from spectacular, but it gets the job done enough to not cringe when I hear our stuff. And That's about it.
Well, I was going to say FYI for the listeners, 12 Years Today have a real schmick profesh sound. Like there are no hints of DIY, at least for the layperson. I promise you it sounds really, really professional.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So I would probably classify your style as heavy rock. And let's face it, everyone has a desire to genre label. But what would you categorize your sound as? And more interesting, like what are your personal musical influences and not necessarily reflective in the sound that 12 Years Today has?
So all over the place.
So all over the place is the best though.
It is. It really is.
I've always called it heavy rock because I can't. I have a very hard time putting the word metal anywhere near our name, but it's not just rock. It has heavy elements, and it's literally like James said.
Case in point, when you see me post a song and you see all the different hashtags that I put for like, genres, I got like alt metal, hard rock, rock. I think back in the day I had like indie and then just Canadian music. And it's like, I don't know, whatever you think we are. Like I started thinking about just putting like pop, country, rap, and just seeing if people would look at it. Like, I mean,
just make up a genre.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're right on the money though. It's heavy rock. It has elements, I think, of everything. We've incorporated, a lot of metal-ish things. There's been some metal core stuff. There's been some, straight up heavy metal stuff, a lot of hard rock, alt metal, things like, like 3 Days Grace, Breaking Benjamin type style stuff. It's just kind of wherever it takes us. Sometimes we feel like we want it to sound really heavy. Sometimes we just want it to be, just like a good rock song, like we don't have anything I would classify as, like your standard rock and roll type song. We're not Bruce Springsteen or anything like that, or Southern rock. I mean, there's definitely certain elements that you can take right out of the equation, but I don't know, I guess everything else it's kind of all just thrown into one big mixing pot, and it's whatever comes out.
I think that's what makes music genuinely great though as well, when you have a melding pot of all this stuff. I was speaking with a friend who is also familiar with your band when you released your most recent song, and both of us said straight away, we're like, it's as soon as you hear that intro, it sounds like you guys. It sounds like 12 Years Today. You can chuck all those influences in and you can hear little bites of it, but it's you. Ultimately, it's you guys and your sound. And the other thing I really love about you guys is that you've got that blend of like where you definitely appeal to heavy and maybe metal fans, even though you didn't want to use like chuck the word metal in there. But then also the rock element is enough to entice people who are not necessarily inclined to listen to heavier music, but the melodies are so catchy and the messages in the songs, draw people in. So there's me just spruiking your band for you for a second there.
You're making our already big heads bigger. Thank you.
That's why we wore stretchy hats.
The thing I'm very conscious of in this interview too is that I don't think there's much of an Aussie following, and I kind of want to put you guys out there to the listeners of Heavy Mag so that a few people will go looking, because they are worth checking out, people.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let's talk about your latest music. So Reveal the Pain is the most recently released single. Tell me about the song.
Well, Jay should probably get into the structure of the song first, because that's where it was born.
Oh, that's super boring. I mean, yeah, maybe just talk about what the song's about. I don't have a whole lot to say. It's
all right.
I'll interject here for a second then, because this is a good way to sort of like, okay, let's talk about Jason. Obviously, you write the music, and James, then you come along and you garnish it with the meaning and the lyrics. Is that how you guys typically work?
Yeah, it starts with a riff.
That is our formula. That is the secret to our success. Everything starts with a sick riff.
Without being condescending or downplaying your amazing talent then, Jason, I will say that I think the layperson usually wants to know what the song's about.
Yeah.
It's it's gonna be a lot of what you'll hear on the record. It's gonna deal a lot with mental struggles, bouts of depression, and just a bunch of sad shit. Um, it's really what it is. It's something everybody can relate to. Something everybody's found themselves in that position at some point in their life. Some more than others. And I just wanted to wanted to shine a light on that sort of thing, not in like necessarily like a positive way, because it's hard to be positive about that kind of stuff, but just I don't know, it's the theme that seems to be coming out, and it's definitely an issue that's a lot more prevalent in the world today than maybe it was before, which, you know, makes it really important to write about. And I don't know, like you said earlier, we're all about the same age bracket, and I know, give or take, we've probably all hitched our chain to the same kind of music here and there over the years. And yeah, that sad shit gets you through some times, man. And kind of hope that maybe somebody hears it and it strikes a chord with them.
Yeah, and that's the amazing quality that music has, both in creating it and listening to it. So you guys get a catharsis in creating it, and then you get to pass on to listeners possibly a tool of therapy for them, something that might get them through. And that actually leads into something I wanted to talk about, because I saw a Twitter post maybe a week or two ago from one of your fans, who is a taxi driver or cab driver, depending on where you're from in the world. And she had a rider that was in a bad way, and she posted about this experience, and she happens to have song lyrics of yours tattooed on her arm. Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah. It's lyrics from our song Stronger When You Fight.
Do you want to tell that story, or would you like me to tell that story?
You go for it.
No, it's your song lyrics.
I can't remember the exact lyrics that she has tattooed, but the song itself is a very uplifting, personal thing to do with, again, demons and inner demons and mental health and whatnot. And yeah, I guess she's had, this has happened a couple of times where she's had people in her car who have been struggling and were on their way to like the hospital, or I don't know, like a clinic of some sorts or whatever like that. Just today was not going to be a good day for them. And then she put the song on and showed them the lyrics on her arm. And I guess it flipped a switch in those people. And it made them make different choices for that day. And they thanked her profusely for it. And, you know, and then we get the tag and I see the story. And like I said, it's been more than once now. And that is beyond cool. That's more than I could ever hope our music would ever accomplish. Is just, you know, if it helped one person, like, done.
How mind-blowing to think that you don't even have to reach, say, a level of fame such as Metallica or something like that to be able to reach one person, or in your in this instance, a couple of people, just via this one individual who obviously she took something from your music that helped her.
Yeah.
And it's cool that she's in a position where she's just meeting people, and possibly in some of their most vulnerable times. I think this particular post, the guy had asked her to take him to we call it in Australia the bottle-o, but it is the liquor store. And something that he'd said to her just obviously triggered a thought that she was like, maybe this isn't the best choice for you. And I think he took a photo of her tattoo, so he's carried you away with him as well. And instead she dropped him off at the hospital. Literally the difference between maybe a life-saving decision versus a life-ending decision. Like, dudes, that is heavy shit.
That's heavy. That is really heavy. It's so cool too, like in that sense. Like, not cool that they had to go through that, but like, yeah, I don't even know what to say. I don't know what the right words are to say about that. It's just,
yeah,
really cool that can happen and has happened. I mean, I
Mm.
hope it happens again, like not for us per se, I mean, that kind of publicity or whatever is, not doesn't hurt, but I mean, but no, like if music is helping anybody, and in this case, our music is helping anybody, I couldn't ask for anything better, to be honest.
Hashtag music saves.
Right? Exactly what it is.
So we've spoken about Reveal the Pain. You guys also released an EP titled Escape the Grey in 2022. And I'm assuming is there a new EP on the horizon that Reveal the Pain was a lead into?
It's going to be a full length, actually.
Amazing. Yes.
Yeah, it's our, I guess you call it our debut album, which technically, even though we've got like 3 years worth of material.
So where are you at with it? Is it almost complete? Do you have a release date, or where are you at with said full length album?
I would say I'm about 2/3 done with the music, and James is not far behind me. We can put it that way. I'm having a bit of not a hard time with this, but I've never written so many songs on my own before, since and I've been doing this now since 2019 consistently. So I'm trying to not just settle on, I don't want to have music for the sake of having music written. So I've scrapped like 3 or 4 songs already. They were done. I was going to send them to him and I didn't. Right? So
That happens a lot, though.
But that's just the songwriting process, though, right?
Oh, it is. Yeah. And I mean, I'm really only down here tracking, bits and pieces throughout the week. I'm pretty busy with, in career mode Monday to Friday. And then when I get home, it's see the kids and the family. And I mean, I'm, I'm usually in bed by 8:30. I have a pretty strict schedule. So anyway, I'm rambling now, but the point I'm trying to get across is I don't have a lot of time.
Is the plan to just sort of dribble out singles as you guys are producing songs, or have you got a set structure of like how many singles you're going to chuck out there before the full album is released?
We'll probably release one more single before the album. There will be a couple songs on the album that were part of the bullshit a few years ago or a couple years ago that we just felt like those songs should still be out there. So we've already done that with Dead of Sin, re-releasing that as a single, re-releasing Say Goodbye as a single. Those won't be on the full length. However, there's a couple others that are missing.
I am so glad that you guys re-released Dead of Sin, because I mean you already know that that's my fave.
That was a lot of people's. That song for us kind of opened us up a bit more to kind of keep making more music, because we, like the first EP really didn't have a whole lot of activity. We weren't doing much with social media or anything like that. Our second EP, which I think the second EP, which was really cool, because you could really like hear the growth with all the songwriting and the lyrics and the production and everything from the first to the second one. And that one we were starting to be on social media. And then when we released Dead of Sin originally, James kind of took over the Twitter duties and really got our name out there more, and people really, really dug that song. That really got the ball rolling for us, I would say. So to have brought that song back just for the sake of what it meant to us as a release, separate from what the song meant and all that shit, it was pretty cool. So, but anyway, yeah, there was 2 other songs on that EP that got removed, that will be on the record too. So yeah.
Amazing. That's really good to hear. Because the listeners are probably not familiar with the incident in which we're talking about here, let's chat about the great Spotify debacle of 2021. I know you guys probably just want to forget about it, move forward, which you're obviously doing. But I think for the listeners, it's a really interesting story, and something I think musicians and music consumers alike may not realize is something that can happen. So Tell us the story. By the way, 2021, I had to go back and have a look and see when this actually happened, because I'm pretty sure when this was going on was around the time that I discovered you guys. And I think that's because your Twitter tribe just rallied so hard to try and get your music back online. And I'm sort of giving some of the story away right now. But yeah, it just feels like it was ages ago. But really, when you think 2021 wasn't that long ago. So like that's a testament to how well you guys have dealt with the situation and how quickly you've moved through it. But anyway, tell the story, please.
I'll tell the short version of it, because quite frankly, it pisses me off to think about it. But, you know, we had released our song Unveiled, and that was like the next Dead of Sin for us. That was like huge stream numbers. Within like a month or so, we were at almost like 8,000 streams into like a regular band. That might not be much, but for us, like two dudes who make music in a bedroom, like that was really, really cool. And then one morning, I don't remember who, it doesn't matter who, but someone mentioned that Unveiled, like it's blacked out on Spotify or whatever. And then I went and looked and I was like, what the fuck? And then I sent it to James, and then there was a whole thing. And around that same time, there were a few bands that we were following that this had happened to as well. I don't remember who they were. I don't even know if we're still in contact with them or whatever, but there were a few bands that this happened to as well, where someone basically made a false copyright claim on our music, which there's no like arbitration, there's no process to have that claim reviewed. It's just you can go, and I don't think you can even do it anymore. Because I haven't heard much of this, knock on wood. Like I don't want to fucking wake up tomorrow now and this happens, but it was as simple as just reporting a song, and they removed it. And what pissed us off was not only did we get zero support from our distributor, which was CD Baby, by the way, we didn't get any notification either that there was any wrongdoing or alleged wrongdoing.
Yeah, we had to hear about it from fans trying to listen to the music. That's how we found out about it.
And this was just some dickhead out there that decided to just cause shit because they could.
Yeah, 100% it was. And it wasn't hard to figure out that it was bogus. I finally got the distributor to give me the email address of the person who made the claim, and the email address was invalid. It wasn't even a real email address. Right. And how we found that out was you send an email to that person, or you send an email to that address, and it bounces back to you. So, and they gave us a first and last name of the person as well, and it didn't match the name on the email. Like it was just bullshit, just a bunch of bullshit.
You look up the name and there was like multiple different accounts. It's like Jay said, like you send an email and it bounces back to you. There's also like an app or like a forum of sorts where you could I gave the address to my wife, and my wife searched the address and it automatically brings back to you whether it's valid or not. It obviously came back the same way, like told us instantly, like this is not a valid email. And it's just like, it's like the frustrating thing is, like Jay was saying, is just like we were getting no help for it whatsoever. There was no arbitration, no way to go about like, okay, so hey, what do we do? What proof do you need? Like how do we solve this? The answer we were basically given, after we deciphered a bunch of coded bullshit messages from people, like from our distributor and from Spotify as well, which I will actually throw in there, that both parties were blaming the other party. Spotify told us we needed to get in contact with CD Baby. CD Baby was telling us we needed to get in contact with Spotify. And it was just a nonstop ping pong battle after that. But basically, once we deciphered all their bullshit, what we were left with was the only way that the songs were going to get reinstated was if we emailed the person who made the claim and got them to rebuke their claim.
Wow.
And it's like, well, how the fuck do we do that when they don't even exist? And it's the funny thing when you try to ask that question legitimately to, I'll use the word again, what's supposed to be a legitimate business, and give me an honest answer back, give Jason an honest answer back. I don't even really think we ever really got a straight answer.
No, what we did was we said, well, I know I said, I was just like, this is fucking horse shit, and I don't even know, like, we're not in this to make it big. We're not in this for money. We're not in this for anything other than just getting our music out there. And if we can't even fucking do that, then what are we doing? Right. And, I had all but just like packed it in. Yeah, I was pissed. I wasn't sitting there feeling sorry for myself by any stretch. But like I had said, the only reason why we're doing it is to get the music out there. And if we can't even do that, then there's no point. I'm not going to sit here and play guitar.
Yeah, and this is music that you've created. You've poured your heart and soul into this, and you can't even do the basic of sharing it with people. And some little fuckbag who, let's face it, was probably some kid just thinking he was funny and has pulled down not just yours but several other bands' music. Like, he's obviously gone on a little spree, which was just lovely. And yeah, to not have that support.
Well, a lot of it too has to do with those fake ass like promotion accounts that like to contact people. And I don't know why this is a thing, but they all use the word organically. It's like, as opposed to what? Chemically treated? What the fuck? Like, I mean, I know what it means. It's just every time I read it, it just makes me shake my head. Like, half the time they can't even form a fully functioning sentence. It's like, hello, friend. Like, it's like, nope. Not your friend. We're not even following each other. Like,
it's true. It's so true.
But yeah, like it's over and done with now.
Yeah, and like I said before, a testament to you guys that you just kind of kept rolling. Yeah, there was maybe a little period where you just like laid low for a bit. And I was going to mention too that you kind of made the decision to just stay off Spotify for a while, obviously because of the bad taste that was left in your mouth. Like, what made you decide to then bring your music back to the platform? Is it mostly just because that is, the primary listening platform for most people, or?
Yeah, it's just to get it out there. It's all it comes down to, just to get it out there. I mean,
we have a really good following going on there right now. It's a nice little community that you and your mates are part of as well. We all support each other, keep each other lifted up and whatnot. And that kind of goes along with the whole if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of mentality. So,
And speaking of your community, which is just wholesome as fuck, by the way, I'll backtrack a little bit. You guys aren't on Facebook at all, correct?
No.
Yeah, the band's not.
There was a fan page started for us a little while back, but I'm not sure what the activity on that is right now.
There's a fan group. I am part of that, and yeah, they post relatively regularly, especially when you've got new music. You've Reveal the Pain has just come out, so they've been popping things up about that. And I think there was a little poll in there recently of like people's favorite songs of your guys and stuff like that. So yeah, there is a little Facebook group.
That's cool.
Oh, nice.
But I guess for our Aussie listeners, the main place to find you and your updates and know what's going on is obviously Twitter. If people hashtag search TYT Army, then that's probably the best way to find you, is it?
Yeah, that will do it. The band name will do it as well, but yeah, that'll definitely do it.
Yeah, that hashtag is what will hook you in with the community, I think, because it's just so wholesome. Twitter was not a place that, and like I said earlier on in the interview, Aussies, for whatever reason, never really hooked on with Twitter. Like, we're all over pretty much everything else, but I don't know, Twitter, I don't really know too many people that use Twitter regularly. So when I joined, through the advice of someone who said, it's a really good place to share music and get your music heard and recognized. You guys were one of the first bands that somehow I just stumbled across, because I had no idea how to use the platform either. And next minute there's all these people that are tagging this 12 Years Today band. So I checked this out, and then next minute I don't even know how it happened, but I'm part of this little friendship group of all these people. And there's there's all these other little bands that talk to each other, and the fans are interacting with the bands, and it is just such a wholesome space. And I think in this day and age, with the way that I'm not saying Twitter doesn't have its evils as well, but for me personally, I think because I've kept my usage on Twitter based around that community, I've found it to be the least toxic place on the internet in terms of social media. And so if I could encourage people to like shimmy on over there. I don't even know what I'm trying to say anymore. I think I'm just trying to say it's a really wholesome little club that you've got going, and you should be proud of yourselves.
Oh, we are, and to expand on what you're saying, I think what it is it's a safe space. It's a space that is kind of like you said. It's become a community for people to talk about music, share their music, for bands to bounce ideas off of each other and make those connections. And I guess when I say safe space, it's, you know, you can come in there from whatever background you have, whatever your beliefs are and whatever, and it doesn't matter because you check that shit at the door. It's all about the music. And the second it's not about the music, well, that's not what we're there for, kind of thing. You know, like there have been instances where things have happened over the last few years that seem to be very easy to get sucked into, and it can be very toxic. And I don't know, like we've all been there. And I know for myself personally, I just remember saying to myself one day, like, I'm so over all that shit. Like there's enough toxicity in the world as it is. I'm not here for that. I'm here for music. And you know, we're there sharing our music. I have, you know, the list that I keep updated and support bands, because that's all I want out of that is music. I don't want any other stuff. And I think a lot of people see that, and maybe that's what gravitates them to want to be part of that little tight-knit group, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, 100%. And because I think the difference that I notice on Twitter compared to the other social media platforms when it comes to bands is that it's used as a promotional tool, which is completely necessary and fine. But there's a difference in Twitter where it's not just self-promotion, but also promoting others, which I just don't see that much of on the likes of Instagram and Facebook. And like you said, you've got the list, you bring that out every week, and you know, you're always supporting and spruiking other bands and not just saying like, hey, listen to us, this is our new thing, this is our thing. And other bands, I don't know whether you guys started that fad or whether it's just something that organically happened, but other bands do it too. And it's just a great place to not only be included, but to discover new music, because it's like one band will say, hey, I like this band, have a listen to them. And so it's that community feeling of bands just lifting each other up as well that you just don't see on other social media platforms.
I agree. That's why we do it. So that's how both of our bands found each other, was through that channel.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a tried and true avenue right there.
So if I could encourage the listeners to do anything positive with their day to day, just like go track down the little community on Twitter. It is so wholesome. So where else can people find your music though? So we've talked about Spotify. You guys have a Bandcamp?
We do, and you've probably just triggered James because I haven't updated it for a while.
I asked him about it the other day, but it's because I was asked about it from somebody else who wants to actually purchase our music, and it was just like, oh, well, let me get back to you on that. Hold on a sec.
And I think I said something like, yeah, it's on my list.
That's exactly what you said. It's on the list.
It's on the list.
Bandcamp is interesting though, because you just, as independent smaller bands, you just don't expect that people want to pay for your music. I know for my band as well, like, it's not as much of it should be a priority, but it's not as much of a priority to maintain Bandcamp, because I'm like, oh, no one, why would they pay for it when they can just go on Spotify and stream it for free? So.
Yeah, and that's honestly, I don't think much of Bandcamp for that very same reason, right? Like it sounds weird, like I almost feel bad if someone buys our music, because I'm like, why? I'm very appreciative, and it's like it's so awesome. But
I get it.
I think it's for a lot of people, like there's a lot of old school mentality with that, who like to buy their music, and that's totally cool. I mean, I was probably one of the last people I knew to stop buying my music on iTunes, like still literally purchasing like $1.29 songs, and like using an iPod. Like I don't know who it was, but I literally remember somebody looking at me going like, use a fucking iPod. And I'm like, yeah, man, 160 gigs, like so much music on there. And they're like, why don't you just fucking download Spotify or something? And like, then it's all there. I'm like, what do you mean? The rest is history.
Well, where do you stand on physical copies of music then? Because that's come up a lot in interviews my band has done, where people are always asking me, you know, are you going to bring out CDs? Are you going to bring out vinyl? Vinyl, I can't get around I understand the collectability factor, but as an independent band, it is not financially viable for me to consider our band to create vinyl. But like, where do you guys personally?
CDs aren't much different. Like they're cheaper, but still.
I completely agree. Yeah,
I have zero desire.
Yeah, and
I have zero desire to ever have physical copies of our music.
what about physical copies of other people's music? Do you still like to buy a CD? Or like, I know personally, like I don't even own a CD player anymore. My car doesn't have the capacity to play CDs.
I forget that mine has a CD player.
I feel like we're on the cusp of that. You know, it's somewhat trendy to have physical things, but it's not viable in terms of the way that in which you play your music.
See, I started collecting vinyl last year. I asked for a record player for Christmas and some vinyl, and I got it.
Oh, you're one of those. You're one of those.
No, I'm not one of those, because I'm not one of the ones that is going to sit here and say like nothing sounds better than vinyl. Horseshit. Lots of things sound better than vinyl. I do now, finally, after a year of listening to it, like I think I understand like the term warmness that I hear a lot. You know what I mean? I do appreciate that little crackle that you hear in the background when you're listening. But for me, it's really just become a new fun way to collect again, especially at this stage in the game. Like, yes. I'm 41 years old. So, I mean, I've got a lot of back catalog stuff that I can go back and start finding. Like, I've got a deluxe edition of Deftones' White Pony. I've got some Slipknot. I've got Metallica. Like, it's just cool to physically see it. And I do realize that, you know, I don't know, maybe it comes in handy one day, you know what I mean? Like, if this all goes, you know, tits up this year or whatever, streaming's going to go down the shitter and we're going to need something to play, right? And I'm going to have the best music collection.
That is very true. That is very true.
I won't have any 12 Years Today or Space Goat though.
Oh, we die. We will die off with the
Yeah.
with everything else.
It's all in here.
Yeah.
It's all in here.
I was always really bad for not having CDs in the right covers, losing the covers so they get scratched to the shit. So I've very much appreciated the technological advances of just having my music on my phone. So
Absolutely.
I would burn a CD. I would burn a CD for one song because I would think, oh, I really want to listen to that song and I don't have a CD on me. So I'd go and download the song, burn it to a CD and go listen to it. So I just waste a bunch of CDs. So, I mean, streaming was like, yeah, it's great.
Speaking to what Jay was saying about Bandcamp, because I know that was the original question. It's like, that's what it all comes down to. It's just like, there are people who are willing to spend the money on our music, and that's really cool. However, we know most people are much rather pay their $9.99 a month or whatever it is to have unlimited streaming of anything they want to listen to. You know, there's so much choice when it comes down to that now that it's almost harder to decide what you want to listen to, because you no longer have that CD sleeve in your visor in your car where you only have like 10 CDs and you're like, oh shit, this is all I got, so it's got to be one of these. You know, now it's literally whatever you want to listen to, and it's like, and it's for one low price. Like, why would you pay for that? I couldn't imagine fumbling CDs in the middle of a workout every morning. That's why I like seeing those memes where it's just like, back in my day, the struggle was real, and it shows a guy driving in his car, but he's like driving with his knee and he's like flipping through the CD case. I'm like, that was me. That was 100% me.
Yeah, can relate hardcore.
So thank God we don't have to do that anymore. Now, you don't even have to scroll on your phone anymore. It's like all voice activated now.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to throw the last question that I have at you. I don't know if you've listened to any of the interviews that I've done with anyone else, but I do like to chuck in at the end just a fun one. And it's usually a play on words with either your band name or the release that you've just brought out or something like that. So I've decided to go with 12 years from today will be 2035. What do you think the year 2035 is going to look like?
That is well done. 2035. You know, the sad fucking thing is I'm still going to be working, so that sucks.
Not if I get the Aussies onto your band and then we'll take over the world.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I don't know. I mean, I build cars for a living, so like I know that I will be 100% building electric cars by then. I can say that in full confidence because I know what my company is doing. So there's that.
Look, why not hover cars? Like, come on. Where's your imagination?
Well, I mean, I want that, but like, I don't think my company is ready for that.
I should have phrased the question differently. I should have phrased the question to say, what do you want 2035 to look like? Let's get silly here.
Oh, fucking hover cars, obviously.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Now we're back on track.
Hover cars, craft beer pubs on every corner.
No, craft beer taps in every house.
Okay, now you're talking. See now you're talking. So
Yeah.
you could have like it's not streaming, but you could have a service where you sign up and you can just have any kind of craft beer that you want, and it just gets distributed to your house through something.
Yeah, plumbed in. It's plumbed in. Just an alcoholic plumbing service for every house.
Done. Sign me up. $39.99 a month. You heard it here first.
Well, Jason, what's your 2035 look like? So we've prattled on for a second, so you've had time to sit there and think.
I don't have any fun view of what 2035 is going to look like. It's going to be very dark. Very dark.
I was going to say the look on your face right now, it just denotes that you're seeing like the apocalypse right now.
Doom and gloom.
Yeah, I'm hopeful, but you know, it's going to be interesting.
You remember?
It's not going to be nice.
You remember how Terminator 2 starts? That.
I hope for less division. I'll leave it at that.
That's a really nice answer. Do you guys have kids?
Yes.
Yeah, 2 girls. I'm fucking outnumbered here.
I have 1 boy.
Well, my hope is that the people that I don't have kids personally, but that the younger generations are going to watch what the hell's going on right now, and they're going to sort it out for us. You know, no pressure or anything.
I think they already are. I think the younger generation right now, like, they're not without their flaws, but none of us were. But I think they pay attention to a lot of things that past generations never did. I'm hoping that turns out to be more of a good thing than anything, but that it leads into like what Jason was talking about, like way less divisiveness between people.
And you know, I see we only have 2 minutes left, but back on the whole divided thing, like I'm pretty sure James and I have very different political views, you know, and I'm sure we agree on some stuff, but I know we disagree on other things, and we still make music together, and we're still friends, and we still talk, and we still respect each other, you know. And I consider myself to have fairly strong political views, and I could give a shit if you agree with me or not, you know. Like, I'd still respect you and all that. And I just wish there was a lot more of that, because the divide is what's evil, not what's causing it. That's all I have to say about that. You put me in a dark. I'm gonna have to go and shotgun a beer or something now.
I'm in a dark place. I better start writing again.
That's a very hopeful way to end our interview, which, like you said, has less than a minute left to go. So thank you so, so much for joining me today, guys.
Happy note. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, that wraps this one up. Make sure you check out 12 Years Today. Listen to their latest song, Reveal the Pain. Get into their back catalogue and get interactive with them on Twitter. Their handle is at 12 Years Band, or you can also find them on Instagram. Their handle there is at 12 Years Today Band. Their music is available, as we spoke about, on Spotify, Bandcamp, but you can also find them on Apple Music, YouTube, Amazon Music, SoundCloud, all the places. So there's no excuse not to go have a listen.